Hey everyone, welcome to the Cedar Room podcast where we talk about life, family, a lot of business, and a little bit about everything else. I'm Dan Vanderkoy, husband to my stunning wife Erin, dad to our 3 wild kiddos, and owner of Mana Insurance Group. From running around playing games as a youth pastor to running an insurance company, I've experienced and learned a lot. We hope this is a place for you to come think, process, and challenge yourself to grow. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay connected as we talk through these ideas together. Hey guys, my name is Dan Vanderkoy with Mana Insurance Group, and we just wanted to start doing some podcasts for different reasons. One of the things that we want to talk about is just life in general. One of the things that I've really tried to embrace over the last, especially 6 months, has been leadership development in my own life and understanding what that looks like to me at home as a parent, as a husband, in our business, and I also coach high school baseball, and so within the kids that I coach and the program that we have there, and so just really trying to figure out how I can become a better leader, how I can become a better member of our community. And the other thing that we want to talk a little bit about is business, not necessarily like products and things like that, because people probably don't want to get bored talking about insurance products, even though there's some really cool stuff out there, right, Kyle?
Oh, that's correct.
But talking about business and just like culture and things like that, that's really important to us. And then just leadership. How do you lead? How, if you're not in a leadership position, how do you lead maybe from the middle? How do you lead when everyone else around you maybe is in an authority position over you, but you still have opportunities to lead in different ways? So that's kind of my heart behind this podcast. And Kyle Boon is here with us today. Thanks for being here, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Kyle gets to put up with me every day at work. I say gets to.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because that's more fun.
Yeah.
We've worked together for almost 8 years, 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
7 years. Because I walked into a bank you were working at when we were doing a food drive.
Yep.
And I was like, aren't you the guy that spoke at Camp Shiloh one time? And then you're like,
No, that wasn't me.
No, but you were a youth pastor, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you should come work with me.
That's kind of how it started, yeah.
Just in a bank.
Yeah, in a bank, and then we went out for coffee.
Did you even know me? Did you know who I was?
I knew of you.
Knew who I was?
I did not. I mean, you were a phenomenal baseball player. That's really the reputation you had.
Thank you.
But yeah, and then we met for coffee, and
that was fun because it was really early in the morning.
A little early for you.
For me?
Yeah, for you at that time, yeah.
Mr. 9:30. But no, like it's been cool just to see us be able to kind of grow our business together.
Yeah.
And then just to even see your family grow. So you've been married to Janelle for how many years now?
10 years.
10 years.
A decade.
A decade.
Yes.
That means you're getting old. Is that why you're balding a little?
Wow. Thank you for bringing that up.
10 years, and you have 4 girls now.
4 girls is correct. Yes. Lots of girls.
So please buy insurance from Kyle because he's going to have 4 weddings to pay for.
I need it.
And
I
he's
need
need
this.
to build that book of business.
I need this so bad.
Why don't you kind of tell us about your family? You also coach a couple different sports and maybe why you do that, your background, and
Yeah. Basically, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying was, I mean, I love to serve my community, but we have a lot of similarities that we were in ministry, and we love to coach and we love to give back. But yeah, my heart in all that was I miss ministry, I guess, in a sense of just investing in people's lives, in a way that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And
so I miss hanging out with kids, and I missed coaching is kind of my boy time because I have lots of girls at home. But yeah, that's my heart behind it. Is I want to invest in kids. I want to show this younger generation how to be a great husband, how to be a great father. Sports are great.
Yeah,
it's a great place. It's a great platform to have to be able to speak up. But how I live my life is really what I want them to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, my a lot has changed since we've kind of started our journey together. We had one kid at the time, and now we have 4. And so, life has changed and business continues to grow. And but my heart hasn't changed. My passions are still the same. And I know we share a lot of similarities in that regard. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I wanted you to be on this first podcast with us too, is just, I think we have a very similar story. We always joke that our lives like mirrored each other, like completely, from our background in youth ministry to where we're at today and coaching and things. And I think that's what, one of the reasons I really I love your heart, and I think why you fit into the culture of even Mana so well is because it's not just about Kyle. Yeah. It's about community. It's about using your opportunity in business and in coaching as a platform to do bigger things, right?
And serving.
So, and well, even you guys have a family mission statement, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and that the heart from that came when we realized that all these businesses have mission statements, and all these churches have mission statements, and I was actually challenged by Grant Fishbook at Christ the King, and he said, you need to come up with a family mission statement. And so, did some digging on that, and Janelle and I prayed together about that, and we came up with what just fit us so well, and that is be living proof of a loving God to a watching world. So it's cool. We have that. I have that in my office. I have it above our sink at home, in the kitchen. We pray that every night with our kids, and so that's just kind of what our family is about. Yeah, so
that's really cool. Yeah. I was actually listening. I'm reading through 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders right now, and that's one of the things they actually talk a lot about that I was reading last night is the fact of a personal mission statement, a family mission statement, a mission statement like in your workplace and different things, but not only just for companies, but also for you as an individual in the workplace, or you individually within your own family, or as a dad or as a husband, and that sort of thing. So,
and I have that standard now of when I wake up in the morning, that if I don't fulfill that, I've failed for that day. Right.
And you can come back and evaluate that each night, right?
I can see that. Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of your background, and I wanted to jump in a little bit to one of the things that I've been really focusing on over the last 6 months, and we've talked a lot about this, is leadership development. And within that, we had our office read that first book that we read through. Is called Leadership and Self-Deception, written by the Arbinger Institute, and great book. It was recommended to me by a guy that I met in San Diego at the National Apartment Association that we're a part of. And he's like, hey, Dan, you got to read this book. His background was as a coach and stuff too. And there was a story in that book that I thought could kind of set the stage for what I want to talk a little bit about. And I know you're a little familiar with this too, but it's a story of Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis from Vienna General Hospital. Dr. Semmelweis worked at the Vienna General Hospital in the mid-1800s, and the specific hospital was known for kind of a research hospital. So they would always be trying new things and different tactics and whatnot. But he was brought in specifically to this hospital to do some research, and he was there, and he would spend a lot of time diving in with the current doctors that were in that facility. But what happened was he specifically started working in the maternity ward, and there's two different sections of the maternity ward. And so he was working in one of them with all like the doctors that have been educated and whatnot. And then there was a whole nother section of the maternity ward that was just strictly midwives. So they basically took care of the women and the births and whatnot. I'm not sure if it was because different social classes. One got a doctor. I don't think it really mattered, but I think they just kind of split them. And as they come in, where there was an open bed, they'd send them, right? Well, what was crazy is the mortality rate started to grow significantly. And in the facility with all the doctors where this guy was overseeing everything, they had a mortality rate of 1 in 10 of the women would die trying to give birth.
Yeah.
And on the whole other section with the midwives, it was 1 in 50. Now, granted, they don't have the modern technology, the medicine and stuff that we have today, right? So it was kind of crazy. So, but think about it. If you're walking into this scenario, you know that you're going to have a child. Think about if Janelle's going in, or for me, Aaron's going in, and there's a 1 in 10 chance that they're not going to make it through. Like, that's significant. And so they kind of tell the story that like these women would literally be like begging and like crying and pleading, please send me over to the midwife side. Yeah. And it was just kind of crazy thing. So this happened, and it continued to get worse and worse and worse. And then Semmelweis finally got kind of obsessed with finding a solution for it. And so he actually took like a 4-month leave and went and studied at some other hospitals. And he came back, and the numbers had gotten even worse. And what happened is basically when he would do research with these doctors, they would do a lot of their research on cadavers. And so they would be researching something, a woman would go into labor, they would go over and they would deliver this child. Well, obviously these people that they're doing the research on have died for some reason or another, probably if the hospital has some sort of disease or whatnot, and they would go deliver these kids. Well, what happened was when he dug into it, they basically found that the bacteria that were found in these cadavers would then be transferred to these mothers as their children were being delivered. Yeah. And it was kind of before they even really understood about germs or anything like that. And so they started to see the mortality. They started to put something into place. So when he realized that it had a direct connection with the actual training that he was doing, and because from the moment that he walked into that place and started doing that training, the mortality rate just continued to increase, like the guilt on his hands, right? He felt just horrible because he thought he was going in there to train these doctors, but it was actually making things significantly worse. And so when he kind of put 2 and 2 together, he immediately put a plan into action, and they started doing some sort of they'd have to wash their hands with chlorine and some lime juice or something like that, and all of a sudden everything started to get out. It was called child fever, and that was kind of the precursor to, I guess, the theory of germs that would come out. But when you think about that, and I guess that's probably where hand sanitizer came from, right?
Yeah, sure.
You know when you have your first kid, and it's like, oh, here, please, before you touch my child, hand sanitizer, right? And like with Blake, my third kid, I'm like, yeah, whatever, eat the dirt.
He'll be
like,
fine. Yeah.
But I thought it was just really interesting because, he's looking around like, I'm coming in to fix a problem, right? And he actually made it worse. And it took him to get time away and get perspective, and to kind of look, it's like, oh man, I actually created this, right? And it kind of goes into what I'd love to talk a little bit about is, so often I think in our society today, and I mean, you see it in the world of politics like crazy, right? You have two sides that won't talk to each other. Their opinion's always right. There's no middle ground. There's no conversation willing to be had. But everyone else is the problem. It's not me. Right. Yeah. And I just wondered too, like, if our approach to life would change if we were able to step back and take a good hard look at ourselves and take accountability and ownership of ourselves before we really start to look at other people as the problem. And so often I think this is one of the things that I've enjoyed about our office and our culture and is having people who just really care about people. I take my kids to school probably 3 or 4 mornings a week, and when they get out of the back of my truck, I tell them, and I hope they write this on my tombstone someday, along with "Don't be the weird guy at the barbecue." That's my other tagline. But is be kind to somebody today. Yeah. Right. And so often we live in a world that's just, we don't know where people are coming from, and that's what we tell our team at Manna too, is hey, when someone calls in, if they're mad about a billing thing or something like that, because stuff happens, it's not always going to be perfect, but you never know what they're going through on that end of the phone, right? You never know what's going on in their marriage or their family life, or if they've lost a loved one or someone like that. And so how do we step back and show kindness to those people, and recognize that there's stuff that we can do on our end instead of always looking at everybody else, right? And
so what's interesting to me about that too is like that we have to say that, right? How sad is that we have to put that into our kids, because when they're stepping out of the vehicle, going into the world, oftentimes they're going to get the exact opposite of what we intend for them.
Yeah.
And I heard someone say the other day on a podcast that I was listening to is like, you know, a butterfly is going to do what a butterfly is going to do. You know, it just naturally does what it's supposed to do. Same with a bumblebee or any animal out there. It just does what it naturally is supposed to do. And then you look at humanity, and it's almost as if we're doing the exact opposite of what we were designed to do and intended to do. Yeah. And how scary is that, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and how many times do we have? We literally have a choice to make.
Yeah.
Right.
Tons
are we going to
of
be part? Are we going to be part of the solution, or are we going to be part of the problem?
Right.
Right. And so, you know, you find a lot of people when there's a hard time, or there's awkwardness, or there's a disagreement, they're just going to bury it and run or sweep it under the rug. Right. But I try to. It doesn't. I'm not perfect, but can I be part of the solution? Can I step back and say, what's my role in this? Can I own it? And another book I just got done reading was the Dichotomy of Leadership, and it was written by 2 Navy SEALs, and they have a book that I'm just cracking into right now, and one of the quotes in it is called Extreme Ownership. It's by Jocko Willink, and he was a Navy SEAL, but a quote that he has is, ego clouds and disrupts everything.
Yeah.
And I step back and I look at situations in my life where maybe I just wanted to be right.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and some of that, like Aaron and I will have been married for 15 years this December. And I know that our marriage has been completely 15 years of wedded bliss. We've never had one argument.
Is that right?
Yeah. My ego's never gotten in the way at all.
Good for you guys.
You know,
That's
so
awesome.
It's pretty cool. We have the perfect marriage. I love you, honey. But no, like when I even step back and look at like raising 3 kids and difference of opinions on things, or even in work or different things like that, like usually those stem from 2 things, my selfishness and my ego.
Yeah.
And if I can step back and I can recognize warning signs that, hey, I'm doing this because Dan wants it, instead of what might be best for the overall culture or the team or the marriage or the family or whatever it might be, you know, those are the areas that I need to be able to step back and say, okay, no, how can I serve, right? And Kyle, I think that's something that you do really well is how can I serve?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I try to do. But yeah, like I said, I mean, like you already mentioned too, it's like we're not perfect. No. And I used to say this a lot in ministry, but I'll say the same thing on our business platform. It's like we have the absolute perfect business until
you're so right.
Right.
You're so right, Kyle.
But let's say business model, everything we put into it, we have the absolute perfect business until you got involved and until I got involved.
Yeah.
Right. And so now we're putting imperfect people into a situation where we're continually trying to strive to be better, but we're not perfect. Right. So there's ego is going to get in the way. Selfishness is going to get in the way always, with marriage, kids, everything like that. Yeah. We want to get better every day. Yeah. Right.
Well, and even to that book that we read through where I had that story from the Vienna hospital, there's a line in there that says, when I see the world in a self-justifying way, my view of reality becomes distorted.
Yeah.
Right. When we're so concerned about ourselves and what we want.
Yeah.
I think this plays into the business world every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And so many people, and like, I get it, like too, like from me, like when I got out of ministry, I went into the insurance world, and like, I didn't have a salary. I didn't have benefits. I didn't have anything. And I had someone who was really gracious to mentor me and to kind of get me into the industry and things like that, you know, and over time, you know, you have changes and different things like that. And when I started Manna on my own, it was one of those things where all of a sudden you start to build things up and you realize like, hey, like, this is going good, but I've put in the blood, sweat, and tears. I went without a paycheck for 6 months. And it's all I, me. Right. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, you finally start to get some revenue coming in, and the natural tendency is like, I want to keep this to myself, right?
That,
yeah. But I find that, and this is something that I think I have to, I'm not by nature a micromanager.
Right.
But by being willing to give other people insight and value and let them run with things, I think it creates like that team culture, right? And so that kind of comes into, are you in business for yourself, or are you in for others or for your community? And I think for me, there's different ways to build a business, but like ultimately, like when people ask me like, why are you in business? It's like, I'm in business to make as much money as I can. Right. And people kind of look at me like, well, that's really greedy.
That is.
I go,
very.
It is. But you know what? I also believe that the Lord puts people in positions to be able to make money. And if we can make more money, it's what you do with that, right? Yeah. It's not about Daniel having the nicest stuff or whatever. To me, it's about how can we help support the school and the orphanage in Guatemala with Eagles Nest International that I work with. How can we sponsor those kids? How can we take teams of people down? This last year, our awesome crew at Anthros Media, who's here today, Josh and Mark, we were able to help bring them down, and then they were able to do like promo stuff for Eagles Nest to help try to get sponsorships up, like what makes that ministry different, or Nathan and Emily Rose-Tier in Tanzania with New Vision Soccer, like how can we bless them so that ministry can continue to happen? The Linen Comedy Night that we were a part of, that we put on, raised $10,000 for Eagles Nest, but also created a community event that was clean. You know, like for me, it's about being a transforming influence in this community, in this county, in this world, right? And so there's so many different ways to grow businesses, and I feel blessed that we have a team of 12 people in our office that get it, right? They get it. It's not about us. It's about...
Yeah. Well, the misconception is if I put $1 in the middle of the table and you take it, the misconception is you're taking it away from me, right? In a worldly sense. But I know that you're going to use that dollar to better the world, right? Yeah. And so, I don't think we should be ashamed of making money. I don't think we do it for free.
No.
Right? But at the same time, if we can make money and we can use that to better our families, better our community, better the world, like, great, let's do it. Let's go get it, you know? But you're right. The culture that we've created in our office is really desirable, I'd say. And that's something, as we've been talking about mission statements and things like that, that's something that I feel, you mentioned earlier, Lead from the Middle, which is a John Maxwell book. Yeah. That's a great read for anyone that's looking in a position like myself. I'm not the boss. I'm not the big boss man, but I have a sense of leadership in this context because I can lead from the middle, and I can I have influence, but with influence comes responsibility.
Absolutely.
And so when I walk in the doors at the office, I have a responsibility to uphold our company mission statement, right? And that's a lot of serving our community, serving each other. And what can really hurt that is going back to being selfish, like just being there to do my thing and not care about anybody else. No, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve my coworkers. And the thing that I love probably most about the culture in our office is, it doesn't feel like a job, which is awesome.
Wait, what a minute?
Wait, what?
What?
It doesn't. I mean, it's unique in a sense where I literally, and I'm gonna have a little fun with you at the moment, because oftentimes when I'm introducing you to someone you don't know, I say, "Oh, this is my boss, Dan," and you just kind of cringe because you hate that level of.
We're a team,
right? We're a team, and so I do it intentionally to kind of get a rise out of you sometimes. But like literally, I can go in and say, "These are my friends," right? These are the people that I'm serving this community with today. Yeah, and they also just happen to be my coworkers. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like in that, I think what's easy for me is, I mean, our mission state as a company is serving in an honest, loving, and consistent manner while being an active representation of God, our families, and community. Yeah. And that covers, that's so broad, right? And I think there's so many different ways to build a business. There's a lot of negative ways to build a business. We've talked about that too, and different analogies that you have with it. Are you focusing on yourself and how you can be better? Or do you start getting distracted and trying to cut down the competition or focus on what maybe they don't do that sort of thing, right? And I think for us, if we can really focus on what we do well, how we take care of people. And I think too, like for me, I won't even say boss, being in the leadership role, one of the leadership roles, because we have an awesome leadership team. And so I can focus on what I'm good at, right? And the minute I start to try to get into books and accounting stuff, not so much. When I try to get into the marketing end of things and stuff like that, we have Kaylee, who's a rock star.
Yeah, and you're not good at being Kaylee.
I'm not good at being Kaylee. No, I'm not. But we have people, and then you have Adam, who runs like the day-to-day stuff and is general manager in the office, and you have like a team of people, and I can do what I enjoy.
Yeah, I
love trying to mentor people, and I love selling insurance and having conversations with people and being a part of that. And so when you do that and you're willing to let go and focus on the things you are good at, not only do you create ownership within your company for other people, and they feel vested and they treat it like their own company. And maybe I'm just spoiled. Maybe we just have awesome people.
Maybe we do.
But I think too, what I'd like to encourage people out there that are leadership roles, and we did this a lot with ministry stuff too, is live life with them.
Yeah.
Right. Don't just be about work all the time. When I was doing youth ministry, I had a mentor in my life. He ended up being my next door neighbor, and he'd take me to it was Bellingham Giants at the time, but Bellingham Bells game, things like that. If we had to run to the grocery store for something or whatever, he'd like, hey, you want to come along? And we would just hang out, but we talk about life, right? We talk about struggles, we talk about God, we talk about different things, and to have those people that you feel comfortable with, and so often we feel like, especially in the workplace, we have to put up this facade. There is a balance between being just emotional all the time and like letting everything flow versus getting work done. But if you can be real with people in your workplace, I feel like your team's going to unite.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have weekly staff meetings. I've had people say, you have weekly staff meetings? How long are they? 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on the week. And they're like, that takes so much time out of your production, doesn't it? I'm like, no, it actually increases our production because people are happy. People care about each other. People are invested into each other. People can share ideas and things like that. It's not a competition, right? And I think so often it's protecting us. It's protecting a leader not being willing to be vulnerable. But I would say the opposite happens when you're willing to be vulnerable as a leader, and you're willing to give people positions of leadership and let them lead, get out of the way. If you let them lead, you need to let them make decisions, even if it's the way you're not willing to do it.
Right.
I think your company in the long run is going to grow and it's going to be better. Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I've about the staff meeting stuff, we've had multiple people within our company say that that's one of the best times of the week, because you get encouraged and you get poured into, and that's something you do really well, is just unite and lead. And that's why I'm here, honestly. Because I've been in the ministry or in the vocation in other spots, and there's just something desirable about following a leader that leads. And one thing that really I think sets you apart is you're one of those guys that stops by the door at the office and say, hey, how's Janelle doing? How are the kids? How's your family? Oh, and by the way, what are you working on? It's like, but that's the last
little
part
bit
of it.
Here, right?
But that's not the driving point of your conversation. That's not why you came to my office, right? And I think that's just you, right? And that's just us as a company. That's just kind of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and going back, you mentioned like how we do business and how we. It is a competition out there, honestly. But I think just doing business the right way pays off. Yeah. We're out there to serve. I care that we get the right coverage for you and your family, right? I'm not going to step into a conversation with a client and say, hey, this agent over across the street is, not doing it the right way. You should come with us. That's just not how we do things, and I've heard this analogy too. There's two ways to get the tallest building in town. Right? You can either cut down the other person's building, or you could continue to grow your own, right? And you can continue to invest in your leadership.
That's a good analogy.
Right? And just continue to pour into what you're doing and do it the right way. Do it well.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, unfortunately, in the secular world, that's not common.
Yeah.
But I think that's what sets us apart.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, thanks for taking time today and being a part of this. And I hope, overall, I know we jumped around a little bit, and maybe we'll get better at this as we do more of them.
Yeah.
But
learning curve.
But I think too, like to walk away, like if I want to take a couple points away from what we talked about, and I hope people understand, is, in almost 10 years of being in the insurance industry, I think I've found that the best way to do business is to do it as a team.
Yeah.
Right. And to find people that you can trust that have the same values that you do, and
hold each other accountable.
Each other accountable to it.
Yeah.
But then also not if you're going to empower someone to do something, let them do it.
Right.
And sometimes that's going to mean it's going to blossom beyond what you could have ever fathomed or what you could have visioned, and they just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And other times it's just going to suck.
Yeah.
Right. And there's going to be the in between. Fortunately, we have a team of people around us that I've been able to just say, hey, I want you to oversee this. I want you to oversee this. I want you to oversee this. And it's relieved a lot of stress in my life with a growing business, just because they're awesome. They're rock stars.
Yeah.
And we have an awesome team of people. And
agreed.
And so I'm just grateful for you, for your willingness to lead from the middle, to just be a transforming light in our community, and to really just invest into people. And like, even at going back to a little bit what you said, because this is the reason I coach too. And I want to see the young men that I coach become good husbands and good dads and good members of the community, and someone that that a company can count on, right? That they're going to show up and love the little things,
absolutely.
Right? And so, like, if we can instill that into people, and I think the other thing is like the relationship, the face to face. So often we're glued to these phones nowadays, right? And they even have a new, I think I saw on the new iPhone, they'll track how much time you've spent on your phone, and whether it's on social media or on like productivity,
I don't want to know.
Right?
I don't want to know.
But it's just crazy. Like, people get paranoid if they don't have it with them, and it's just, we've forgotten how to have, even as we sit across this table, face-to-face communication.
Yeah.
And to me, this is what it's about. This is where business happens. This is where life happens. This is where encouragement happens. And there's a reason why, like, the anxiety and the depression and all that kind of stuff is through the roof today, is because we forgot how to interact with people. And
we don't listen anymore.
Right.
And that's, I mean, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
We should use them proportionally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's oftentimes in conversation, it's like, I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say while you're talking. I'm already trying to think of what I'm going to say. Right. And that's the natural conversation, human thing we do. It's like, no, just listen.
Yeah.
Listen to someone and invest in their life.
Yeah.
Love them the right way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I can't, even when you think about that, how often are people, even you're having that conversation and they set their phone down.
Yeah.
Right on the table with you at lunch or something like that. And I've been guilty of that. Yeah. And all of a sudden, and I think I was listening to a podcast the other day too, and the guy said, yeah, someone will get all dressed up, come to a meeting or something with you or whatever, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and they're willing to take 15 minutes on the phone call where you're there in front of them. Yeah. How often do you say, oh, yep, I'll give you a call back in about 15, 20 minutes? That doesn't happen very often anymore. Yeah. And it's just that opportunity to have a relationship with somebody. So anyway, thanks again for being on.
Yeah, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, if you guys like this, like what you heard today, and you want to hear more of it, and we might do a deeper dive into some of the overview of the things that we talked about culture and leadership and business tactics, things like that. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a follow on Instagram or Facebook at Mana Insurance Group, and let us know and spread the word on this.
We just literally told them to stay off social media.
I don't know if we said literally. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, when you were talking about the thinking about the next thing that you're going to say, it just brought me straight to Dumb and Dumber. Why? When he talks about the part, so, I don't know. She was giving me a bunch of garbage about not listening to her or something. I don't know. I wasn't really listening.
Well,
That's
thanks
a
for
great
listening
movie.
to me. I appreciate that.
You're
That really
welcome.
encourages me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Just don't call me one pathetic loser. Yeah, I think that's all we got. So thanks again, everybody, for listening, and hopefully you found this helpful. And thanks again to Josh and Mark with Anthros Media to being willing to come out and record this for us. And I think it's gonna be a good thing.
Yeah,
Like
it's
to
fun.
do maybe once a month or so, and see if we can get some different guests on. And not that you weren't good.
Oh, well, I didn't give you all my good stuff. I wanted to leave a little bit out there just so you invite me back.
On the table right here.
I just wanted you to invite me back. That's it.
Okay, we'll see. I'll talk to Kaylee, see if that's allowed.
Yeah, all right.